2 archangels, 1 missing god, and an apocalypse memo left on a desk like casual office mail. Then they get matching tattoos, and Heaven's perfection rule takes effect with interesting results at the parlor. Which is how End All Life on Earth turns into a sibling road trip in Jesus' Cadillac with a DJ mouse in the glove compartment. This is Chapter 7 of The Trouble with Angels, the Apocryphal Adventures of Gabriel and Michael. If you want to keep binge reading Bob and Hannah's adventure right now, there is a link in the show notes to start at Chapter 1, or you can go to our Season 1 hub, link in show notes, or go to gloryfink.substack.com, The Trouble with Angels. And if you know someone who loves ancient archangels behaving like petty siblings with unlimited cosmic power, bureaucratic heaven vibes but make it emotionally devastating, tattoo parlors, divine loopholes, and no time frame specified chaos, New Orleans side quests with poboys, incense, and suspiciously helpful artists, share this episode with them. Previously, on The Trouble with Angels, Heaven is still running on cosmic paperwork and bad improvisation with God missing. Orders still appear, systems still grind, and the whole divine plan feels unsupervised. Angels keep trying to do their jobs while the weirdness escalates, and sometimes the oldest beings in creation handle a crisis the way anyone does. Avoidance, snacks, and an ill-advised field trip. The Apocryphal Adventures of Gabriel and Michael by Glory Fink. Michael walked into the top offices in the Silver City. He nodded at various angels working as he beelined for Gabriel's door. A disheveled, dare I say, soul-tarnished angel, such as Michael appeared, as might normally raise concerns and possibly some gatekeeping. But his charisma opens doors for him wherever he goes, and it does help that he's one of the oldest angels, so just about everyone knows him, or at least knows of the Archangel Michael. Michael blew a kiss at Gabriel's guardian secretary as he pushed open Gabriel's office door to behold a not unfamiliar but still concerning scene. The lights were dimmed, with Gabriel laying on a divan, playing with a charm bracelet on their wrist as mice wearing go-go boots and nothing else danced on a small platform under a mirrored disco ball as greatest hits from every era in human history played in sequence. Michael sat down on the end of the divan, took in the scene for a moment before remarking, "Your mice are doing an excellent job of dancing to Beethoven's Fifth. Have they been practicing?" The mouse DJ winked at Michael as it finger-gunned. Michael smiled and finger-gunned the DJ back. Gabriel noticed none of this. They were so deeply wrapped up in their thoughts. Michael placed his hand on Gabriel's left foot. "You summoned me, dear?" Gabriel noticed this and clapped, signaling for the music and dancing to stop. The lights resumed to a normal, shaded morning light setting and replied, "Oh yes, here." They pulled out, from the far side of the divan, Michael's sword and tried to hand it to Michael. Michael's face became neutral, but his eyes hardened and he did not move a muscle to receive the sword. Gabriel gave a big sigh and put the sword back on the floor, sat up, and shoved a note towards Michael, who did accept the note. It read, "The time of Earth is over, and all life and reset the planet." Michael closely examined the note as the dancing mice and the DJ mouse packed up their things and quietly receded into their apartment adjacent to Gabriel's office. Michael finally asked Gabriel, "Did the Almighty give you this order?" And Gabriel replied, "No, I was visiting some rose gardens on Earth, as I enjoy doing this time of year. When I returned, the order was on my desk. If the Beneficent One had been here, I would have rejoiced at their return. Frankly, it would have been a relief after their log absentia, even if it meant the ending of the human project." Michael breathed in slow, measured inhalations and exhalations. He knew he had a temper, but there was no point in starting to yell this early in the conversation, since it would just cause Gabriel to dig in their stubborn heels. And then a little spark of inspiration found Michael. With a casually careful tone in his voice, Michael said, I notice this note contains no time frame. Michael gave Gabriel a long, pointed stare, but one side of his mouth curled into a mischievous grin that Gabriel was all too familiar with. Gabriel returned Michael's gaze with a sigh and an exaggerated eye roll that Michael was reassured and relieved to see, and replied, "What?" Michael's return volley was simply to allow his grin to grow and arch his eyebrows. Memory dawned on Gabriel's face as their mouth dropped open and they said, "Oh no, what scheme have you hatched?" Michael's shoulders relaxed and he patted Gabriel's ankle and said, "You're gonna love it. The family needs to be alerted since I can think of several who are currently residing on Earth. Instead of delegating to send them messages, let us go down and let them know personally. And while we're there, we could go visit some of yours and my favorite spots and places before all traces of life are wiped from the planet. It'll be like old times." Gabriel didn't respond. They just stared into the middle distance. Michael sweetened the deal and said, "If you agree to go on one last celebration of creation with me, once we're done, I promise to return here and pick up my sword once again." Gabriel side-eyed Michael and asked him, "Really?" Michael smiled and nodded slowly. "Really and truly. But you have to promise to try to have a good time and no pouting or wallowing." Gabriel took a moment to consider this, and then suddenly sat back up and said, "Why not? One last hurrah for old time's sake." Michael exclaimed, "Huzzah! Tell your guardian angel secretary you're going on a business trip and grab your robe." Michael and Gabriel walked out of the offices of heaven arm in arm. Michael did not take the sword with him. It remained on the floor on the far side of the divan. Michael draped his entire arm over Gabriel's shoulder to pull them close to his chest, and then he said, "First off, we need something to commemorate this momentous occasion. Something special. Something we've never done together before." Michael and Gabriel kept walking through the Silver City, and while angels are discreet, they are also aware of their surroundings. More than a few angels walking in the quad noticed that two of the oldest and most powerful archangels were walking closely together, in a way they had not since their falling out several millennia prior. Michael pretended to consider and then said, "I know a place. We're going to do it like humans have done for ages." Michael pulled his favorite pen out of his jacket breast pocket, and with the same dancer-like flourish he used to use when he'd have his sword in his hand, he sliced the air with it. The fabric of reality shimmered and separated in a way that often reminded Michael of happier cavorting times on Earth. As Michael took Gabriel's hand and walked through the tear into a park near the less reputable outskirts of the French Quarter in New Orleans on Earth, Gabriel took in their surroundings and then remarked, "Oh, it's been so long." They sniffed the air and then said, "And yet, it smells only slightly better. Gabriel and Michael walked about a block and headed into a dark alley into what appeared to be a side door. The parlor smelled of sandalwood incense, sweat, poboys, and fries with traces of bourbon and blood. Michael announced loudly, "Fern, how is the most talented artist in the land doing?" Fern put down her roast beef poboy, wiped her hands and mouth, and immediately enveloped Michael in a tight bear hug and lifted him off the floor a few inches. When she put Michael back down on the ground, he gave her a big smacking kiss on the cheek, and then halfway turned to Gabriel and said, "Fern, this is my sibling, Gabby. Gabby, this is who I brought you here to meet, the amazing Fern." Fern grinned ear to ear and put out her hand to Gabriel, and they shook hands. Gabriel said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Fern. I apologize for interrupting your meal. It smells wonderful. What a lovely place you have here." Fern replied, "Hi, Gabby. I'm so happy to meet any family of Mika's. We're all starting to think he'd sprung from the ground fully formed." Fern patted Michael on the back and then said, "We've just got poboys from this excellent new place that opened up on the other side of the park. It is run by the scariest, most hate-filled woman I have ever met, but you can't argue with a great sandwich chef. May I order you both some sandwiches? Michael spoke before Gabriel had a chance to turn Fern down. Oh, that would be great. It'll give me time to finish sketching out our tattoo. I'll have what you got, Gabriel. Do you want roast beef, shrimp, or oyster? Gabriel responded, Shrimp for me. I've never had a poboy, but if it tastes even half as good as yours smells, I know I'll love the cuisine. Fern took this in and then looked to Michael, who said, Gabby doesn't get out much anymore. That's why I thought it would be a great idea to get a tattoo to commemorate our road trip. Fern relaxed and said, Of course. I'm so glad you stopped by my little tattoo shop. Here's my sketch pad, Mika, so you can start drawing what you want, and I'll call the dragon lady at the poboy shop. By the time Michael finished drawing the tattoo design, Fern had returned with the poboys and complimentary fries. The archangels enjoyed their delicious, messy sandwiches, while Fern prepared her workstation. Fern asked, Okay, we're all ready. Who is going first? Michael piped up. Gabriel's never had a tattoo before, so how about they go first? Gabriel sat down in the chair, and Fern prepared Gabriel's chest and began tattooing. After a moment, Michael leaned over and whispered into Fern's ear, Do it just like you would a normal person. Fern nodded and continued. Once finished, Gabriel got up to admire Fern's handiwork, and Michael sat in the reclining chair. Michael said to Fern, Don't finish mine, only half draw a few roses. When Fern finished with Michael's unfinished tattoo, she sat up to stretch her back and then did a double take as Gabriel, who had not put his robe back on the shoulder of the side that had been tattooed because the tattoo site was still very tender and hot. Fern rubbed her eyes and said, How tired am I? Where does your tattoo go, Gabby? Gabriel was startled and then looked into the mirror to see the last traces of ink fading from their skin. What's happening, Michael? Gabriel demanded to know as Michael kept chuckling. Michael said with an impish gleam in his eyes, Did you forget the perfection rule, dear? Gabriel's face fell and, clenching their jaw, remarked, You rascal, you set me up! Gabriel impulsively lightly slapped Michael's freshly covered tattoo. Oh, mercy! Michael howled, You deserve that. Gabriel retorted. Michael covered the plastic-covered tattoo with his hand to protect it from further injury, and then looked regretful as he said, I'm sorry. It was unkind of me to laugh at you forgetting the rule. Please forgive my poor judgment. Gabriel paused for a moment and then responded, I apologize for slapping your tattoo. I'm sure it really hurt. I wish you had said something, though. Michael nodded. Gabriel then turned to Fern to request, Fern, if it's not asking too much, do you think you could see it in your heart to give me one more, incomplete tattoo on the other side of my chest? Fern took a long, deep breath and then said, Yes, but then I'm done for the day. I don't need to know what's going on, but I definitely need a lie down after this. And then she walked over to the entrance of her shop, turned off the open sign, locked the door, pulled close the curtain in front of the door, and then gave Gabriel a matching incomplete tattoo of Michael's design of Gabriel's horn and Michael's sword, both laying in an overgrown garden covered in flowers and foliage. After Gabriel and Michael left Fern's tattoo shop, they walked back to the park to sit on a bench and admire the breathtaking sunset, accompanied by the sounds of children playing nearby. For a time, Gabriel watched the beautiful park with all the parents and children and the occasional lovers holding hands walking by, and after a long while they asked, Do you ever miss your children, Michael? Michael had been immersed in his own reveries. Gabriel repeated, Your children. Do you ever think about them? Does your heart ever ache for them? Michael met Gabriel's gaze and slowly inhaled. There is not a moment that exists in creation that I don't want to hold my children in my arms. They made existence bearable. Every day they marveled at new discoveries with so much enthusiasm and joy. I felt like I was experiencing the same for the first time with them. I thought if I could spend the rest of existence with them, creation wouldn't feel so much like a burden, but instead as a gift. They were so gentle. I thought if they're so gentle and thoughtful, and they're mine, Maybe I'm capable of more than violence and destruction. Perhaps I could be more than a tool for revenge. So I learned to write for my family, to give voice to reason and love, in the hopes the Lord no longer needed my sword. Michael met Gabriel's gaze again, and then said abruptly, "They're not entirely gone, you know. Some of my children found homes with the humans. My pure-hearted children live on. I know, because sometimes I see that divine gleam in one of their eyes. They live on. They just don't know me anymore." Michael said, "With this order, what remains of your children and mine will be gone. I think this is so much worse than what occurred with the purple ponies. This feels so wrong," Gabriel explained. "With the purple ponies, I was saddened that they didn't meet the Almighty's expectations. But I understood that to let them linger in that simple state was not a true mercy. They were never going to reach a true spiritual state of enlightenment, so they would just go on existing as simple animals until something like a meteor hit or their son died." Gabriel's breathing grew ragged. "But these humans, they're not graceful like the ponies or charming like some of the others, but most of them seem to have that divine spark in them, at least a few times in each of their lives. Lucy's reports indicate the humans still keep trying to grapple with their existence, even in the afterlife. So why destroy the human project now? It doesn't make sense, Michael. The Omniscient One has never given me an order that filled me with confusion and angst and rebellion before. Am I broken? I trust you, my dear Archangel. You are true, and just please tell me if my time has come for oblivion. My thoughts and feelings are shredding me from the inside out. At this point, the thought of your sword ending my suffering is a welcome thought. What is happening to me?" Michael grasped Gabriel's forearms in a firm, reassuring manner. Gabriel grasped back. Michael locked eyes with Gabriel. "I can think of a few possibilities, but this is far too important a matter for casual theories. We must convene a council of the family. I strongly doubt you're as broken as you feel, but I agree this order does not fill me with the familiar sensations of acceptance and peace that previous apocalyptic announcements have. There may be more at work here than we realized. I have faith in our family that we will uncover the truth. Blessed be the creation." Michael paused and considered his thoughts and then said to Gabriel, "In the meantime, let us continue on our tour. I know exactly where we should go next. You're going to love it." Gabriel's shoulders relaxed, and for the first time in a long while, the archangel's face broke into an enormous, delightful smile, because they knew the exact kind of party they were heading to. Michael and Gabriel stood up and walked over to the curbside sidewalk, and then Gabriel stopped as a thought occurred to them. "How are we going to get there? This is a road trip, after all," Gabriel remarked. Michael said, "You're right. We need a vehicle, but where shall we get one?" "Oh, I know. Jesus has one. We can borrow his," Gabriel said as they flourished their hand, and Jesus' 1957 Cadillac Eldorado convertible in Orion blue with a beautifully detailed painting of Mary, Jesus' mother, on the front hood with a medium blue leather interior and a copper top appeared parked alongside the curb. "Oh, Mary," they both remarked as they smiled, admiring the painting. "She's such a spitfire," Michael said as he remembered her. "God really does love brilliant, opinionated women." Gabriel observed both archangels nodded in agreement, and Michael asked, "But what will Jesus drive? He might need his car to drive people around." "Ah, good point," Gabriel said as they cast their mind around looking for a substitute car. "I found one, and it's even better than this car. I'll just send it over to his garage with a little miracle." Gabriel flourished their hand once again, and all the way over in the heart of East Los Angeles, a 1973 AMC Gremlin in Cordoba brown appeared. Michael piped up and said, "Remember to include a painting of his mother. He'll like that." Gabriel nodded, and on the hood was a painting of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Gabriel turned to Michael and asked, "You'll drive?" "Of course. Hop in, Gabs," Michael replied as he slid into the supple leather driver's seat and started the engine. Gabriel sat in the passenger seat and flourished one finger, and suddenly there was a faint bass line thumping through the chassis. Michael locked eyes with Gabriel and said, "Really?" Gabriel blushed and shrugged and replied, "They bring me joy." Michael leaned over to open the glove compartment to reveal the entire interior scene of a tiny mini portable mirrored disco ball rotating at the top of the compartment, and on the floor of the compartment was the DJ mouse from Gabriel's office with a tiny travel-sized DJ turntable desk and one of the go-go dancing mice twerking and waving at the archangels. The archangels waved back, and then Michael said to Gabriel, "You better pad the surfaces in there or they could get hurt if I suddenly have to swerve." "Okay," Gabriel said, and flourished their hand to suddenly reveal the glove compartment luxuriously padded and both mice wearing tiny crash helmets, as well as the dancer in white mid-thigh boots. "Happy? I even put a ventilation system in so they'll stay comfortable when their door is closed," Gabriel said. The DJ mouse formed a heart with their fingers, and the dancing mouse blew kisses at the archangels as Gabriel closed the glove compartment and said, "Shall we go, my dear Michael?" Michael smiled and replied, "By all means," and they rode off into what remained of the day's setting sun. Next time on The Trouble with Angels, a council of the family gets floated like a casual brunch plan, but the stakes are creation level. Michael and Gabriel keep the road trip rolling, chasing joy with one eye on the apocalypse memo. And somewhere in the cosmic paperwork, someone is going to notice that the order has no time frame, and that is a problem. You've been listening to The Trouble with Angels by Glory Fink. If you're carrying something heavy right now, I'm glad you're here, and I want you to have the support that's real, immediate, and human. If you're in the US or Canada, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. In the UK and ROI, Samaritans are available at 116-123. In Australia, Lifeline is 131114. If you're in immediate danger, please call your local emergency number. If you want to help this story keep finding its people, you could tap the heart button, engagement is magic, leave a comment, Fern will read it, squint, and then declare she needs a lie down, toss a coin in the coffee fund, divine contributions welcome, on Ko-fi, Venmo, and Cash App, links in show notes. The Trouble with Angels at Glorious Magazine, link in show notes. Coffee Bunny Crafters Cafe has a link in the show notes, and you can find me, Glory Fink, as at Glory Writes the Blues on social media, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads. Be kind to yourself this week, drink some water, unclench your jaw, and do not sign any apocalyptic memos without a time frame. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in Chapter 8. Goodbye!